taste of victory should have been sweeter. I wiped the blood from my blade as I stepped through the gates of Moonville Pack, warriors trailing behind me with the weary satisfaction that came after a hard-won battle. We'd crushed the rebels, driven them from our borders, and secured our pack for the next season. By all rights, I should have been riding high on the thrill of conquest. Another enemy fallen, another threat eliminated, another step closer to proving I was worthy of the alpha crown that would one day be mine. Instead, all I could think of was those pair of gray eyes that had stared at me at the battlefield. My boots echoed against gravel as I stepped into the pack house. Everywhere suddenly felt too quiet. The servants and maids, who usually bustled when going about their evening chores, seemed to hide their faces in their shadows. Their gazes slid away from me with a kind of careful neutrality, which meant just one thing. My feet came to an abrupt halt as the realization hit me. They knew. And if they did, Father knew too. Somehow and some way, words had reached home about what I did, or rather, what I didn't do. "My lady, is there a problem?" Bastion, the next in command to me, probed as he took a step closer towards me. I clenched my fist and shut my eyes for a second. Warriors are always meant to be bold, even in the face of danger. That has always been Father's mantra since I was little, and now it was mine too. Leave with the other soldiers to the tent. Make sure the wounded ones are tended to. Everyone should also be given what they need and want. I'll properly inform the Alpha of our arrival, I commanded, and he nodded before dispersing with the other soldiers. No fear even in the face of danger, I muttered to myself before proceeding to Father's door. Every ounce of courage and confidence I had drifted apart the minute I stood in front of the oak door separating Father and I my hands, always steady enough to grip a sword to fight 1,000 soldiers, now trembled as I tried to place a knock on the door. I stood there for what felt like eternity, my knuckles hovering against the door. Everything in me screamed for me to go back, but Venus Parker had never been a coward, and I won't start now, even though my future as the Alpha stands on a balance. I pushed the door open anyway after placing the knock. My heart raced as I walked into the lion's den. Alpha Callius Parker stood by the window with his back turned to me. "We've arrived, Father." I tried to keep my voice as steady as I could. "Total victory," I added. Father stood still, not uttering a word to me. "I have been thinking." His hoarse voice suddenly cut through my words. "I have been thinking very deeply about what could possibly possess my heir, my trained battlefield heir and student, to defy a simple, direct order. So indulge me, Venus. What is it about him that would make you stand before me, look me in the eyes, and lie to my face about letting a dead wolf walk away breathing?" The air in the room crackled with intensity. He knew the truth. I muttered, trying to sound courageous. "He is my mate." Silence stretched between us. We had talked about me meeting my mate 3 nights ago. We laughed over it. Now, Father leaned forward, and I caught a glimpse of the mercy I desperately needed. "I am giving you a chance to redeem yourself, Venus Parker. You have 48 hours to bring me the head of that thing." I shut my eyes for a second, drawing a deep breath. "I can't." My death sentence had just been signed, and I knew it. My hands trembled at my sides, the same hands that had never shaken while ending lives of dozens of traitors without hesitation. But this, it was different. This was hard, choosing between the man who made me and the man who completed me. I guess the next Alpha is still a little girl after all. Handling your emotions as the alpha is something I still need to teach you. I understand you can't do it on your own because he is your mate, but not to worry. Mavros will go with you, and when you return, I will teach you how to handle emotions when dealing with. I won't. I insisted, bringing my father to a halt, and the aura of warmness I had began to feel disappeared. It was replaced by the same coldness my father was known for. 22 years, 22 whole years as your daughter, and not for once have I ever disobeyed you. I have obeyed every single one of your orders. Ozan is not the man you think he is. In the little time we spent together, he made me feel different. He made love to you, didn't he? He probed, and I remained quiet. I couldn't tell the truth, neither could I lie. Instead, I lowered my head. If you wanted some man to make you feel like a woman, he snarled, his voice dripping with disgust and barely controlled rage. You could have had any wolf you desire. You are their future alpha, and you have every authority to command any male to grace your bed. They do not have a choice. I love him, I spoke, looking at my father straight in the eyes. You do not know him to come to conclusions. He is innocent. Siding with an enemy is considered treason, Venus. Think your decision through. He took slow, deliberate steps away from me. I watched in horror as his fingers closed around a silver letter opener, the blade catching the limelight as he tested its edges. Father, you need to get to know him. The door suddenly burst open, and about 6 guards hurriedly walked in, surrounding me. One's duty as an alpha, he smiled as he played with the letter opener, throwing me off balance. It was the most terrifying expression I had ever seen on his face. Comes before comfort, before desire, before love. And when there's a threat to your pack, he slid his finger with that same smile. You cut it off, no matter who or what it is, whether it is someone you love or someone you care about. He set down the letter opener, setting a feeling of relief in me. Venus Parker, you are hereby found guilty of treason against this pack, and according to laws, the punishment for treason is death. He turned to the guards immediately. Ready the gallows for 3 days. I have an unfinished business to attend to. He chuckled as the guards pulled me away. Father, I yelled, hoping within me that this was just a prank. He couldn't possibly take my life because I refused to kill my mate. I am your daughter. You. My daughter died in the war, he answered casually. You are just another pathetic excuse of an enemy to be eliminated. Time was moving really slow. My stomach was growling, and my limbs were weak with hunger. The stale bread sat untouched for the 3rd day, growing mold as a result of the dampness of my cell. I had rejected every meal, hoping my father would come around after getting to know I refused to eat. Every footstep towards my cell raised some pathetic hope, believing it would be him. I hoped my father would walk through those bars and tell me this was just a test. The guards had given up, trying to force me to eat something. When footsteps finally stopped right in front of my cell, I looked up with hope only for my stomach to drop at the sight of my brother's smirking face. I hated that I had to use the word brother, because he was nothing like a brother to me. We were of the same blood yet hater. A person of envy and enemy was the perfect word to describe him. He never liked me since we were little. When he found out that a lady would be the alpha in place of him, who was a male, not taking into consideration that I was born 4 whole years before him. Well, he drawled, his hands crossed behind him as he leaned on the bars like he owned them. Look what the mighty warrior princess has become. Just 1 mission, Venus. 1 mission without me, and you messed it up. Who could have imagined that a logical person like you could falter at mere sentiments? It's a pity that you let years of father's investment waste all because you couldn't keep those legs closed for duty. My fingers wrapped around the cold bar irons with enough force to turn my knuckles white. The urge to reach through and tear his throat out was so overwhelming that I could taste copper on my tongue. This bastard. What? His grin widened at my reaction, amusement etched to his face, as he moved closer, but still out of reach. The caged wolf wants to fight. Oh well, I am not your precious mate, so killing me wouldn't be hard. After all, you've killed a dozen without battling an eyelid. Well, he proceeded to and fro across my cell. I actually came to deliver some wonderful news you might find amusing. Father should be returning any moment from now with a special trophy. I do hope the head is recognizable when he brings it back. I would really hate for you to miss seeing what is left of your beloved face. I know I had hidden him where Father would never be able to find him, but just what if he finds him? The thoughts made fear creep into bones. And the best part, Father has entrusted me with your execution this evening. Unlike you, dear sister, I don't let sentiments cloud my judgment. Hours rolled by pretty quickly, and finally, the dreaded moment came. Beside my father was Marcos, who barely contained his excitement as his hands rested on the hilt of the ceremonial blade. I shut my eyes in defeat as the blade was finally about to be let down. Years of sacrifice shouldn't be wasted like that. A deep, haunting voice cut through the air, causing everyone to freeze, including my father. A figure suddenly stepped out of the crowd with a hooded cloak that concealed his face, but this wasn't Ozan. I have a better offer.
The sentence has been passed. I settled into one of the leather sofas, enjoying the way Alpha Callias tried to act bold at my presence in their precious study. He couldn't look me in the eyes. Of course, even the infamous Doom's hand knew better than to dismiss me. The Northern Lands, 2 words. I knew that was more than enough to make Mavros's eyes go wild with naked greed. His mouth opened before his brain could catch up. How is that even possible? No one can. One look from his father silenced him instantly, but I caught the hunger that blazed in Alpha Callias's eyes before he could hide it. The Northern Lands was one of the richest and most advanced pieces of land. Alphas had fought for it, yet I could hand it over to him with just a phone call. In exchange for one condemned traitor. That's quite generous, don't you think? Callias's finger drummed against the desk, the only tell of his unease. Yet I ask, why would someone like you offer such a substantial trade for a condemned criminal? I snickered and shook my head. Callias has proven himself once again to be ruthless. It was pathetic hearing him call his own daughter, who was his favorite heir just days ago, a condemned criminal. I remained silent and stared at him deep in the eyes. Power wasn't just about strength. It's about making others feel small at your presence, and right now, the infamous Doom's hand looked like a child playing at being a wolf. You lack patience, Parker. I spoke, and the temperature in the room suddenly seemed to drop several degrees. I watched both men fight the urge to shiver. You were willing to throw away something so invaluable to you in the future simply because it inconvenienced you today. I leaned forward slightly, and Mavros's breath quickened, his eyes darting nervously between his father and I, on the other hand, have learned the art of patience. I recognize courage when I see it. Your daughter defied death itself. She defied you for what she believed in. That kind of spirit, when channeled rightly, is worth its weight. Mavros continued to stare at his father, unsure of what was happening. Of course, this was no child's play. I need time to. 10 seconds, Parker. I raised my hand before pulling out a pocket watch and flipped it open. And your time starts now. The ticking of the clock filled the deep silence between us three. Mavros held his breath, his knuckles whitening as he gripped the chair too hard. Time. I snapped the watch shut. I accept. Alpha Callias shut his eyes like he had just made a terrible decision he shouldn't have. I was going to take her anyway. 5 minutes later, I watched in amusement as they dragged his struggling daughter to my car. Despite being bound and gagged, she still wrestled like a wildcat. The guards nearly dropped her twice. After she was secured in the car, I took off the gag off her mouth and the chains bounding her hands and legs. She might try to attack you. Mavros started, fear and worry in his voice. I couldn't tell if he was genuinely concerned for me or out of fear of what she could do to him if she pounced on him, or even try to run away. She wouldn't dare. I cut him short, meeting her eyes immediately. The car moved and I smiled at the fire blazing in her eyes. This was going to be more fun than I anticipated. She straightened her spine with admirable defiance. I know whatever agreement you had with my father was because you needed a warrior for your battles, and I promise to help because you have saved my life, but I have one condition. I couldn't help myself as laughter bubbled out of my chest. She stared at me, quite shocked and startled. "Oh, little wolf," I shook my head at her naivety. "Your father has taught you the ways of war, but nothing about geography. You clearly do not know me at all if you think I need your modest abilities for warfare. I have armies that could crush continents, so much soldiers that I do not know what to do with them. I bought you because I need a wife." I watched with satisfaction as color drained from her face, understanding dawning like a nightmare coming to life. "I have armies that could crush continents, so much soldiers that I do not know what to do with them. I bought you because I need a wife." I watched with satisfaction as color drained from her face, understanding dawning like a nightmare coming to life. "You see, my reputation has an unfortunate side effect. Women find me intimidating. They have this annoying habit of dying from terror before I get to know them well, but you have something they lack: spirit, fire. You won't shatter at the first sign of pressure. But I'm not entirely unreasonable. I know you have a mate, and out of the abundance of my heart, I will give him a chance to win you back." I sent a message to him, letting him know how to reach me, and I sent help because I know getting out of your pack won't be easy for him. "Oh, I know you hid him in your father's own chambers, in the secret passage behind his own room. The one place Daddy Dearest would never suspect because it's right under his nose, right? Aren't you quite smart?" Her eyes widened even more. Young and reckless, yet her wisdom marveled me.
The golden walls of my prison were too beautiful to be real. All that had happened still seemed like a dream, even though I had pinched myself a gazillion times to be sure it was real. 1 minute, my head was about to be cut off, and the next minute, I was sold to be the wife of an alpha I had no idea of. I paced the length of the room for what felt like the 100th time. It was big, bigger than my father's room at home. We had stopped here since it was getting late, as he claimed this was one of his properties. The windows were too high, no secret passage. How could I escape from here? I still couldn't find an answer for the questions in my head. Who was this man? How did he know where I had hidden my mate? Because I was certain no one could have ever figured it out. Not even my father. Why did he buy me? Why? The door burst open without warning, and my heart stopped. I wiped my eyes to be sure I was not being delusional. Ozan was standing in the doorway, alive, whole, and more beautiful than I had seen him the last time. His eyes met mine, and the relief that settled on his face was so pure that it almost made me fall to my knees. "Venus," he breathed, and the sound of my name on his lips set the butterfly in my stomach fluttering. 1 moment, I was frozen by the window, and the next minute, I was flying across the room and into his arms. He caught me against his chest, his hands tangling in my hair as he held me as I thought I might disappear if he loosened his grip on me. "I feared something might happen to you." I breathed against his neck, not holding back those tears. For the first time since I returned from the war, I felt so much relief. "Alpha Haynes sent his men to get me," he murmured fiercely. I didn't need to ask who Haynes was. I knew it was the man who had bought me. The warmth drained from my body like water through a sieve. My smile died on my lips. No, I withdrew from him and looked away. Haynes didn't come to save us. my hands fisted in his shirt, anger building up in my throat. Colors drained from Haynes' face as he stared at me, quite in confusion. "We have to run." I spoke urgently, panic rising up in my tone. "Right now, we have to get out, No, we can't." He held my hands, stopping my frantic rambling mid-sentence. I stared at him, certain I'd misheard. His hands tightened on my shoulders, his eyes dark with something that looked suspiciously like defeat. "Venus, you have no idea who he is. He controls half the continent's packs through fear alone. Alphas twice his age bow to him without questioning. Running from him is impossible. It's suicide." His voice dropped to a whisper. "He could hunt us to the ends of the earth and back again before breakfast." Anger crept up my bones immediately. "Then what are you saying? Accept defeat. I would rather die than be his bride. Let's die together and then." "We can't do that." He shook his head. "He gave me a choice. We get to pick a game. Something we think we can win. 3 rounds and the winner takes it all." "What game?" I interrupted immediately, staring him deep in the eyes. A thin smile found its way to his lips. What was amusing about this? "The choice is ours. We get to choose any game. He gave us 2 days to come up with a game. We can give him a response after 2 days, and..." A slow smile spread across my face as understanding hit me like lightning. I know a game he would never win. I crossed my hands right in front of him. We can use his weakness against him. People like him do not understand emotions. All they understand is power and intimidation. This game relies on pure emotion, not power or intimidation. His brows furrowed immediately. "What are you talking about?" "All he said is a game. He didn't specify which, right?" I probed, and he nodded. "A love contest. 3 rounds where you each have to prove your devotion to me. Romantic gestures, heartfelt declarations, and acts of selfless love. He may be the most feared alpha on the continent, but he's never truly loved anyone in his life." "Venus." "Think about it. He admitted women die of fright around him. He's never courted anyone, never had to win anyone's heart. All his powers mean nothing if the game is about genuine emotions. I might be a warrior, but I have weaknesses. I will let you know everything that makes me cry, what I dream about in the dark, my fears, my hope, and my soul. All he wants to do is possess me, so he knows nothing." "Are you sure about this?" He probed, fear and concern in his eyes. "I can bet my life that he could never win a contest of the heart. I can't wait to leave this place so we can be together hence. We play by morning." The first round felt like a dream I never wanted to wake from. Ozen's romantic gesture was perfect. He'd recreated the clearing where we first met, and how my laugh had been the first sound to make him smile in years, and how my courage inspired him to be better. The words flowed from his heart with such raw honesty that warmed my heart. I thought we were winning until... "You were wearing a silver bracelet when we met that night. One for courage, one for loyalty, and one for hope." My breath caught immediately. That bracelet had been hidden beneath my sleeve during his negotiation with my father. "You have a scar on your left shoulder from when you fell from a tree at age 7, trying to save a baby bird. You still have nightmares about the night your mother died, and you talk to her grave every full moon." I turned to look at Ozen, expecting him to say some more. Of course, I had told him so much about me, yet he found nothing more to say. The little hope in me disappeared that minute even before the 3rd round was over. Anger built up in me, not at Alpha Haynes, but Ozen, whom I had told everything to make sure he won, yet he kept embarrassing me with every minute that passed by. "Now tell me, milady, who is the winner?" A grin spread across Haynes' face as he crossed his hands behind him.
Victory tasted even sweeter when served with a side of betrayal. I swirled the whiskey in my crystal glass, savoring both the burn of aged liquor and the delicious sight unfolding right in the courtyard below. Venus stood rigid as stone while her precious mate tried to explain himself with increasingly desperate gestures. Even from 3 stories up, I could see the tears streaming down her face. Poor little wolf, she'd actually believed she could outsmart me with a game of hearts and emotions when she was too blind by it. My fingers drummed against the windowsill as Ozin reached for her, only to have her pull away like he'd struck her. The fool played his part really good. My beta hunter spoke as he closed the door. He believes every word of the deal you promised. He signed the additional contracts this morning. You know, she still has no idea she was sold to save his own skin. For the first time in a while, I found myself feeling pity or perhaps guilt. I dismissed the thoughts immediately. Sentiments would not help me. I couldn't let myself be destroyed by that. Send the message to the other alphas. Mine and Venus's bonding ceremony will be in 2 days. Every alpha has to be in attendance. Get her ready. We have to return home today. The wedding is tomorrow. I announced this to her as she sat like a beautiful statue carved from marble. I've invited everyone who matters, including your family. We'll consummate the marriage immediately after the ceremony. I understand. That was her only response. I didn't understand her compliance. Perhaps her mate's inability to save her had been the reason for her coldness. Minutes ticked by fast in the wedding hall. Then the frantic voice of a young maid cut through. Alpha Haynes. She stumbled towards me, her face pale with terror. I threw open the door to her chambers. The sight that greeted me stopped me cold. Venus sat on the edge of her wedding dress, a poisoned knife pressed against the pale skin of her wrist. I accept. Alpha Kilias shut his eyes like he had just made a terrible decision he shouldn't have. I was going to take her anyway. 5 minutes later, I watched in amusement as they dragged his struggling daughter to my car. Despite being bound and gagged, she still wrestled like a wildcat. I didn't make him do anything. I spoke calmly, resisting the urge to yell as I was beginning to lose my patience. The love contest was not rigged by me. The love contest was rigged by Ozin himself.